The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hi, welcome everyone. This is Eric Lenaburg, and we are off the wall today with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I have a very special guest for us today, Mark Carfagno. Mark was a clubhouse attendant for the Philadelphia Phillies for many years and is actively involved in baseball even now. Welcome, Mark.
How you doing there? I'm
doing
you Rick or Eric. So hopefully
either way.
It's fine. Yeah. I'll try to call you Rick. That's what you told me to. All right.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are aware of clubhouse guys, but they don't know how to get the job. How did you initially go to work for the Phillies?
Well, actually, I was a groundskeeper. That's what I was.
Groundskeeper?
Guy. Yeah, groundskeeper, yes. Well, actually, I started working at Connie Mack Stadium selling newspapers. Then after that, giving out all-star ballots. And then when they moved to Veterans Stadium, I continued to do that. And then I guess in the middle of July in 1971, they were short on groundskeepers, and they put me on what they called the junior ground crew, guys that were part-time. So, and I went to college. I thought I would, leave that, but I want to have a degree in communications. But I lost my parents at a young age, so I stayed there for my initial job, and I ended up staying there for 33 years. So it was all good. It was a terrific experience, and I'll treasure it for the rest of my life.
Oh, I'm sure. A lot of people would love to work in baseball in any capacity.
Sure.
So,
Yeah. Everybody was jealous of me.
I'll bet.
Yeah. Except for them windy days when that rain was coming down and trying to lay that tarp down. That wasn't fun at all.
Yeah.
Believe me. Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of the more memorable things that happened? Anything stands out in your mind that you'll never forget that happened while you're on the grounds crew?
Well, on the grounds crew, in 1980, of course, when they won the World Series, that was a monumental day. That was the first World Series that the Phillies ever won. I'll never forget that day. And Steve Carlton, when he won 27 games, that year, I think the whole team only won 59. But
he 1972,
was so
that's right.
It seemed like, he won every game 2-1, 1-0, and we had the privilege to sit behind the glass, right behind home plate. I mean, I saw some terrific pictures there, Nolan Ryan, even Bob Gibson. And I was a kid at Connie Mack Stadium. I ran to sit behind home plate and watch Sandy Koufax, and Carlin was just dominant, if not more dominant than any one of those pictures during that 1 year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then other members, in 1993 team, they were, a bunch of characters. They were a lot of fun, with John Kruk and Lenny Dykstra and,
that's right, Larry Anderson.
Pitcher Mitch Williams. Yeah, they were all good guys, yeah. But, and of course, the closing of the stadium, too. That was kind of very sentimental to me.
Right.
Bittersweet. But all the players came around, and they shook our hands. The players have played there from when the stadium opened.
Right.
And, as you know, we had a good rapport with Dick Allen when he played, and he was actually in the limousine. They were riding him around, or in convertibles. They rode everyone that ever played around the entire stadium. And actually, we were dressed up in tuxedos, standing along the third base line. This was right after the last game. And he actually got out of his car and came down and hugged all the groundskeepers, and, which was really a great thing, and cause
what a great moment. What a great memory to have.
Terrific moment. Something I'll always treasure for the rest of my life,
Right. Now, you mentioned Dick Allen.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You mentioned Dick Allen, and that's one of the reasons we're talking today. You've been spearheading a campaign for a while now, as I'm aware of it, to get Dick Allen in the Hall of Fame. And I want to ask you about that. Initially, how did you first start getting involved in that? Or has it been something on your mind for years that he should have been elected?
Yeah, it's been on my mind for years. I know, everyone knows the rules. Well, 5 years after he retired in 1977. So 82, I knew he would be on the ballot. So I started writing a couple of letters to Cooperstown and a couple of Hall of Famers. Who knows if they even got them. But, I was kind of a realist. I knew that the writers were voting, and he never had a good rapport with the writers. But, he had the highest percentage he ever got was 18.9. But you still needed 5% to stay on that ballot. And I guess the writers are smart enough to know that, he was that good of a player, and maybe he would stay on there long enough to push him to the Veterans Committee. And in fact, that did happen. So then in 1997, after he got off that's when I really started writing more letters. And then, since the advent of computers, there was a lot of stuff you can do and send directly to the Hall of Fame. And then really, really got involved in 2013 for the 2014 campaign when this kid called me up, Richard Jr., said, I want to help you. I want to first, number one, clear my dad's reputation. I feel that's why he is being, ignored for the Hall of Fame. Everyone knew he didn't talk to the press. He had that bad boy image. He liked a libation or two. But what he did between the lines, the son always said to me, and he still said it now, just look at the numbers. If they would only look at the numbers, then he would be in the Hall of Famer. But unfortunately, they still have a tendency not to look at the numbers and look at them other distractions. And that was blown up by, of course, the statement that Bill James made. If he's a Hall of Famer, then I'm a lug nut. And he hurt his teams. He caused his team to lose more than he caused to win. Which is, we have stats are proven that all that is incorrect. And, we have a terrific website. It's www.dickallenbelongsinthehall.com. You just go on there and you'll find a plethora of information there, including testimonials from, other players. And I suggest everyone go to, like I said, you kind of have to feel around the website there, and it's called Our Presentation. You click on there, then again it says Allen Presentation. You click on there, and it's 55 pages of information that we actually sent electronically to the voters and the nominating committee, and we also sent it to the media too. And I tell everyone to go to the testimonials. I think it might be page 21 or 22 when it's by Tony Taylor. It's called The Predictor. It's the day he predicted he would hit 3 home runs. It's pretty incredible. That's the one I like. But
let me ask you this, because let's talk about the numbers for a minute, because you brought up Bill James, and people who listen to my show over the years know that I've been on record many times as saying Bill James, I'm sure, did a great service to baseball, but his work and his book is not the end-all, be-all.
No,
you can take statistics and you can juggle them around any way you want to make them turn out how you want to. So how does Dick Allen compare to other Hall of Famers who maybe had lower numbers in there in the Hall, and players from his era?
Okay, well, like I said, when I started this campaign, there was a little article written about it. Just let me go back a little bit. And then when they saw that was in the paper, all these baseball historians and people, they started calling me who I did not even know, and they all wanted to help they all wanted to help. And the bottom line is basically the one number that stands out is his OPS plus. They say that's the magic one. So his career OPS plus is 156 all time. That's all time.
Okay.
He tied 20th with Willie Mays. Now, 1/20th with Willie Mays. Now, he's ahead of these Hall of Famers who had less. I'm just going to give you one from his era. Hank Aaron, 155. Frank Robinson, I'll just name them, who are below him. Aaron, McCovey, Dargell, Killebrew, Jackson. I can go on and on. So when you're 20th all time, I think that is a huge number. And, as they say, numbers don't lie. And that one certainly doesn't lie, to see the one that he is, below. And then, they say back, and prior to that, there was stuff called the black ink test and the gray ink test score. And he does fine with that. He's ahead of numerous Hall of Famers there. I think his score is 70th all time, and it's better than 33 Hall of Famers, including Lou Brock, Roberto Clemente, Johnny Bench, Billy Williams, Willie Stargell. The gray ink test score is 75th all time. That's ahead of Clemente, Carew, Santo, Robinson, Morgan, Tony Perez. Now, they're guys from his era. It's ahead of other players, too, but they're always saying how you did it against your peers. And you know that he excelled against his peers. He excelled, and that's why it's kind of mind-boggling that he's not in the Hall of Fame. I still don't understand it. And it's very frustrating.
Right, and you mentioned, and this is, common knowledge, he did not have the greatest relationship with the press.
No.
And that should have nothing to do with whether or not you make the Hall. But let me get on another topic, how you get along with your players and your peers. I read recently an article about Dick Allen. He had been traded several times over the, from the Phillies to the Dodgers to the Cardinals to the White Sox. And back then, people used to kind of have a whispering campaign that he was a bad teammate and all that kind of thing. But that really wasn't the case, was it?
No, it was not. No, it was not. I mean, I spoke to several of them players about him. How was he with a teammate? And you can just go online and find stories, that he was a well-liked teammate. I spoke for a real long time with Jose Cardinal. He played with him in 1970 with the Cardinals.
Right.
You remember Jose? I'm sure, yeah. And he said that he learned more from Dick Allen than he did from his 49 years in baseball, including playing and coaching. Taught him how to play, how to steal. He was a terrific base runner. And, and you talk to Mike Schmidt, Mike Schmidt will say the same thing, and that's why one of the reasons the Phillies brought him back. I know people don't know this. When he really had he had torn his Achilles in Chicago in 1974, I believe, and it never really healed properly. And, he was basically going to retire, and he didn't want to go to Atlanta and play. But, they kind of begged him. They actually went up to his farm in central Pennsylvania, and they sent Richie Ashburn up there, Dave Cash up there, and they literally were banging on his door. And they wanted him to come back. Did talk him into it. And the main reason they brought him back was to protect, Greg Luzinski and Mike Schmidt. And he did a job. And also talked to Mike Schmidt. Mike Schmidt was kind of aloof, and, Mike Schmidt couldn't, I mean, if he was booed when he came up, I think he batted 170, 198 in his first year. And
that's right.
He was always booed. Even when he did MVP interview, strike, and he couldn't take it. He never understood why he was booed. Well, no one was booed more than Dick Allen was when he came.
That's for sure.
Being the first black player ever, superstar really, to play in Philadelphia, and that all started when they made that huge mistake of sending him to Little Rock, Arkansas, in 1963, where he was subject to death threats. His car was vandalized. They were threatening to kill his wife. I saw some of the letters, what I really can't repeat, but. It must have been a real horror show. The Dodgers, they protected Jackie when they sent him to Montreal.
Right.
They sent Jackie to Montreal, but unfortunately they sent Dick to, they sent him to Philadelphia, and then, or sent him to Arkansas. And 64, everything was fine and dandy. And then he got in that fight with Frank Thomas in 65. And then after that, he had a huge target on his back. And, he was booed. He booed every day.
Right.
Jackie might have been booed in his home when he went on the road, but this guy was booed every day in his home ballpark every day. But yet when he hit one, when he came to bat, you'd stop because you never knew how far the ball was going to go. And
that's right.
Then they'd stand up and cheer, and there were a bunch of hypocrites. But
that's right.
But he was really a terrific guy. Like I said, you talked to his teammates, you talked to Rich Gossage. And I've spoken to them all. I've spoken to a lot of these players. And, unfortunately, what Bill James said, it's basically false. It's false.
Yeah.
And so.
You mentioned the long home runs. If memory serves me, and I watched him play many times when he was with the Dodgers, and I saw him on TV like everybody else. Did Dick Allen not hit some of the longest home runs ever recorded? Oh, yeah,
yes, he did. And I'm sure you're aware of it. I always used to say, that should be part of his Hall of Fame resume. For instance, Nolan Ryan, he throws a ball, just hear me out a couple seconds. Nolan throws the ball 100 miles an hour. Now, some say that he could be he's one of the most overrated players in the Hall of Fame, Ryan, because of his winning percentage. So he got them strikeouts and no-hitters. But how did he achieve all that? By throwing the ball 100 miles an hour. So I'm saying... Now, Dick Allen, according to Bill Jenkinson, who's the baseball historian, whose expertise is long home runs, how far they traveled, and, to know that he's not a fly-by-night guy. He's hired by he's a consultant for MLB, MLB.com, MLB TV Network, HBO, ESPN, and Fox Sports, and the Hall of Fame Museum. Now, he did the research. When he came along, it was like I found my savior, and he researched, and I saw stuff. He actually goes out and literally researches. This launch and lift angle and all this electronic stuff and the stuff on computer. This guy did actual legwork. He went out and, with tape measures and stuff like that. Bottom line is, he ranked Dick Allen second all-time in power. All-time power. slash distance hitting slash slugging, behind Babe Ruth. Number 1, Dick Allen. Number 2, Babe Ruth. Now, he also figured that in his career, Dick Allen hit 20 home runs over 500 feet. 20 home runs over 500
Holy
feet.
cow.
Yeah. Now, I'm proud to say that actually Jim Bunning mentioned that at the meeting, in the Hall of Fame meeting. And he actually said it in a press conference afterwards. So, it's not really fruitless naming this, because people have a tendency to say, well, Dave Kingman hit the ball 500 feet. Well, true, he did. But Dave Kingman batted what, 240 or whatever, 220.
At best,
you don't have Hall of Fame numbers, but Dick does. And
right.
Right. So Jenkinson said that, like I said, he hit 20. So then he advances forward to the eliminates the steroid players. So he goes from the year 2000 up to this last year, which would be 2017, which includes 18 full baseball seasons. Only one player did a ball 500 feet, and that's Adam Dunn. Yet Dick Allen hit 20 in his 15-year career. I find that quite incredible. Yeah.
That is quite incredible. It's quite impressive.
Yeah.
You saw him play, and as I mentioned, I saw him play at Dodger Stadium in 1971, and I saw a couple of those home runs that he hit just as a member of the Dodgers. He only hit 23 that year, but they were tape measure. But not only that, he had a presence in the game. When he was on the field, he was one of those players that you couldn't take your eyes off. When he came up to bat, you were not going to the concession stand for a hot dog. You were going to stay and watch him hit.
That's true. That's true. Because you never knew what he would say. And like I said before, it would be a round of boos in Philly, and other racial epithets that they threw at him. But like I said, when that ball left that bat and it disappeared out into the street somewhere, the late Bill Conlon wrote, he said, when Dick Allen come to bat, he said they needed asphalt outfielders, meaning that the kids in the street caught the ball. I think that's a terrific line, yeah.
That is.
So actually, I use that as a hashtag on a lot of my tweets. Asphalt outfielders needed. Yeah, it's kind of incredible. And the big thing is, when you mention Dick Allen now to people in their 50s and over who saw him play at Connie Mack Stadium, first thing they say was, I remember when he hit the Coke sign. I remember when he hit it over the Coke sign. I remember when he hit it over the scoreboard in right center field, 75 feet high, right center field. Like according to Jenkinson, too, he also was number 2 in opposite field power behind Babe Ruth. That scoreboard, 75 foot high in right center field, that's a heck of a shot. And
people can say things, as you mentioned earlier, people can say, well, Dave Kingman hit a lot of home runs, hit some long home runs, but he was not the total package. Dick Allen was a 5-tool player. He did it all. He stole bases. He hit for power. He hit for average.
Yes, he did.
He could field. He could throw.
Yeah.
So I want to go to there was a meeting of the Veterans Committee, I believe, a few years ago, and a lot of people were anticipating that Dick was going to get on the ballot and get in the Hall of Fame through the Veterans Committee, but something went awry at that meeting. Can you explain what happened?
Yes, I can explain. He did get on the ballot, and he was one of 10 candidates, and the voters were all announced. There was 16 voters. It was 8 Hall of Fame players, 4 members of the media, and 4 baseball executives who were in the Hall of Fame. But then at the last minute, actually we weren't told until after the vote at the press conference that Bob Watson was out, and he was replaced by Dave Dombrowski. And now we thought, like I said, we put a lot of work in this. We had people working and pushing. We did a lot of campaigning for this man, and we thought we had the 12 votes. And one of them votes was Bob Watson. But Dave Dombrowski comes on board, and Dick Allen misses by 1. So we kind of think that Dave, didn't vote for Dick. And then 45 minutes, you go, the headline in the Chicago Tribune is Jerry Reinsdorf, who's on the board of governors of the Hall of Fame. It says Reinsdorf upset about ex-Sox not being inducted. And he mentions Billy Pierce, who was on the ballot, Jim Cott, who was on the ballot, and Minnie Minoso, who was on the ballot. Then the reporter asked him, what about Dick Allen? He said, well, Dick Allen had a checkered career. If I ever had a vote, I would never vote for Dick Allen. So don't you think he spoke to Dave Dombrowski, who used to
Absolutely. You know,
Yeah.
and Reisdorf was very influential when it came to those things.
Yeah, I know, and that's terrible. And I don't understand that. I don't know how he could come out publicly and say that and be. It's very unprofessional. You know.
Very unprofessional.
Yeah. So sometimes I think there's almost like they're trying to keep him out. I don't know why. You know, because he was told he missed by one vote. Then he's told in 2014 that it will be able to be again in 2017. Then they changed the committee. They changed the process over again, as you know. In 2016,
right.
They brought the modern era in and a couple other expansion eras. So now he has to wait till 2020. We thought that was very unfair. You know, now these gentlemen they're talking about, they're in their 70s and 80s in 2014. So now they're well into their 80s or 90s in 2020. You know, it's just unfair. And it's almost like they're waiting for him to pass away, just like they did with Ron Santo. You know, but, you know, it is what it is, I guess, and I still don't get it. You know, like I said, he has the numbers, and I'll keep referring to his son. You go on that website, and he practically begs. We had a press conference. He begs the people, just look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Don't look at all that other nonsense, and you'll see he's a Hall of Famer. You know, and I can't agree with him more. And so
I can't agree with him more either. The numbers. How you performed on the field, between the lines, is all that matters.
Right. Yeah.
All that matters.
Yeah. No one played harder. You know, he was like you said, he was five tools. And then when Thomas hit him over in the shoulder with that bat, you know, he had a terrific arm.
Right.
He had speed. You know, he hit. His speed. I think he hit 10 inside the park home runs in his career.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I think I have it here somewhere. Oh, God. Yeah, I think he hit 10 in his career. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. He hit 7. That ranked him fourth in his era. You know, first was Willie Wilson, you know, with 12. Second was Lou Brock and Clemente. They had 8, and Allen was fourth with 7. And then behind him was Mays with 6, Mickey Mantle with 6, and Billy Williams with 5. You know, they're all great base runners. You know, Dick was a great base runner, too. You know.
Yeah, see, and there again, you got a group of players other than Willie Wilson. I think everybody else you named is in the Hall already.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, yes, they are. I think they are. Brock. Yeah, they are. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, see, I didn't know that about Allen having the inside the park home runs. I never would have guessed that. Here's a guy that hit the longest home runs and still was able to leg out inside the Parkers.
And he hit 2 in one game. You know that on Kurt Blyleven, right? At Metropolitan Stadium. Is that what it was called in Minnesota? Yeah. And I think there's only one other player to do that. You know, in the baseball history.
Right.
Yeah. He did it on
July 31st. Amazing accomplishments.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then and they have these other stats too, is OPS plus, OPS, slugging percentage. Now they have WAR, offensive WAR, runs created. You go, any stat, when you go to, you know, some of them I don't even understand, but every time I look, you know, he's right at the head, he's at the top of the list. Or, you know, maybe he's somewhere at the top, and, you know, some Hall of Famers are above him, but most of his peers are behind him. That's what about. You know, why are they behind him? I mean, why is he not in? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, it is a no-brainer.
He's struggled all these years, and you guys are doing a great job supporting him and leading this campaign. What is Dick up to now? Do you know?
But Dick is, I think he'll be coming up north pretty soon. He spends his winter months in Tampa, and when he comes home in the summer, he likes to go home in Wampum, where he's from. He likes to hang up there on the farm. And he also has a residence in California. And then he's going to come up to Philly. He's going to be a team ambassador, along with Mickey Morandini and I think Gary Matthews is one. He'll go in the luxury boxes, you know, shake a few hands and stuff like that.
Right.
It's, you know, he's been involved with community relations. You know, I think Lee Thomas hired him actually in the 90s sometime. And he's been working ever since. So he's up to that. And he was, you know, he doesn't like to make appearance. You know, he's not really big on promoting himself or being seen in the public. So I was just talking to his son who's down there with him. And I said, your dad go to the ballpark? Yeah, a couple times, but you know, he'll wait till the team leaves, then he'll go over and see the minor leaguers because he really loves watching the kids play. You know, that's what it's all about. You know, and I mean, I can tell you one. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a friend who's a documentary filmmaker of baseball films, and he has met Dick a few times and spoken with him and had him on camera, and told me that you will not find a kinder, more sensitive man than Dick Allen, which goes against what the media portrayed him as. But you have to really look into his story and look into his background, look into his numbers to get the whole picture, and look into what you guys are doing in your group, for instance, to get the whole picture of Dick Allen. Has there ever been a book written about him?
Oh, there's several books written about him. Oh, yeah. The book Crash by Tim Whitaker. I think there's September Swoon about the collapse of the Phillies, but that was mostly about him. And two just came out last year. It's called God Almighty Himself, The Life and Legacy of Dick Allen. That quote is from a former third base coach, George Myatt. I think Bob Skinner got fired as a manager, and he said, how are you going to control? And Myatt became the manager. He said, God Almighty Himself can't control Dick Allen. But so that's the title. And then another one, a terrific book, Life and Legacy. No, The Life and Times of Baseball Immortal. That was by Bill Kashadis, who's a baseball historian.
Right.
Yeah, that's a terrific book. It's got stats, but the real cool thing is it has pictures from the Allen family that are in there. Never seen before. Yeah, that's a real. I recommend people. Actually both books I recommend. God Almighty Himself. Yeah, you just go online, I guess. And
I was just going to say they've been in print for a few years. So you can probably go to Amazon or go online and find them somewhere.
Yeah.
So for the people listening, go ahead.
No. In that the book, The Life and Times of a Baseball Immortal, Mike Schmidt, he wrote the foreword, and I think at the end of the foreword, he said that I'm going to find it right. I'm sorry. It said William Kashadis has given us a clear view into the life and times of one of the greatest players in baseball history, but one who continues to be overlooked by baseball's Hall of Fame. Comprehend that. Greatest players in baseball history. Greatest players in baseball history. He was an athletic freak. That's another thing I try to point to people. He was a great basketball player. I mean,
I did not know that.
Good. Yes, he did. Yeah. He won a couple state championships, and actually, he had a farm. Like I said, when he retired, he really took me under his wing when I was a kid. He found out that I lost both of my parents, but I don't know if we have time to explain that story. But anyway,
sure you do. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
Well, yeah, okay. He when he found out I didn't have any parents, I think one of the trainers told him.
And this is when you were working as a groundskeeper in the early years.
I was like maybe 18 years old or something like that. And he said to me, if you ever need anything, and please come to me, he said. And if you don't, he goes, I'm going to whoop your butt, So here on the East Coast, big thing in the summertime, because it's cold in the winter, is, get down to the Jersey Shore. So when the Phillies were away on weekends, we would I'd like to go to the shore, but it was just sometimes I was financially strapped and I couldn't do it. He'd slip us a couple $100 and stuff, slip me a couple $100 and said, don't tell nobody, go have a good time and stuff like that. And then he invited me up to his farm. I stayed overnight with him, and and then, like I said, getting back to his basketball skills, I think he was retired. I was up there, and he wakes up, wakes me up 6 in the morning. He goes, come on, we got to go feed the horses. So we're walking up to the barn, and he's in his bare feet, and, I'm walking behind him. You know what you want me to do? And I didn't know. There was a basketball. There was a backboard and a basket up there, and the surface was, dirt,
Yeah.
He's in his barefoot, and there was a basketball laying there. He picked the basketball up. Now he's probably 49 or 50 years old. He picked the ball up 6 o'clock in the morning and jumped straight up in the air and dunked it with 2 hands. With 2 hands. Yes. But now he won't. He was equivalent to like a McDonald's All-American. I think I don't know what they were called, something back then. Maybe they played in a Dapper Dan Classic, which was a big thing back here. But anyway, but according to his brother Hank, who he was at the press club, and I was eating dinner during one of the games, and I think he was scouting either for the Astros or the Rangers. I think it might have been the Astros. And he said to me, my brother won't tell you how really good he was, but he was offered 103 Division I basketball scholarships. 103.
Wow.
Yeah,
See, that's another thing that people don't realize about Dick. What a great athlete he was.
So when I say he's a freak, yeah. So
now the other thing is that you mentioned his brother Hank. that's another thing a lot of our listeners may not be aware of, especially the younger listeners, that Dick had a younger brother, Hank, who played, I believe, for the Washington Senators. Isn't that right?
Yes, he did, yeah. And his brother Ronnie that played. Ronnie played, I think, for the Phillies organization.
That's right. Ronnie Allen played also.
Yeah. And they say his older brother, Coy, was the best athlete. Coy, C-O-I, but he could, he had to work. He couldn't play sports. He was older.
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
The whole family obviously was, talented. And
right.
I met their mother. What a beautiful woman. Like Dick is a very religious man, and I think it's because of his mother. His mother used to make sure he'd go to church on Sunday, and
right.
Or at least went to a service at the stadium, that they, because they have chaplains in there, just, getting back to the other stuff that, he's a mean person, and who would think
right.
Dick Allen would go to church, or, I'd go to his house. He'd always, say grace before the meals. His kids were, very, very, very polite. His wife, Barbara, his first wife, also very polite. I can't say enough about the guy. And, this is really, when his kid asked me to help him, I said, okay, I have to do it. I have to do it. And his father didn't want no part of it. And I said to him, I call him Doobie. That's what we call him, Doobie. I said, Doobie, I don't want to get your dad mad. I know he don't want anything about it. So I asked him one question. I said, Dude, did you ever see your father play at the old ballpark? He said, yes, I did. He goes, but I was very young. He goes, but what I do remember is my sister Terry, who, by the way, was fatally shot and killed, one of them fatal attraction jobs when she was in college.
Oh, my.
Very, very sad, yeah. But, she might have been like 12 or 13 years old at the time, and now batting number 15, Dick Allen, and she was sitting in the stands with her brother and her grandmother and her mother. And, they were booing him, and Richard said to me, he remember his sister saying, Mom, why are they saying them bad words about Daddy? Why are they cursing Daddy like that? So after the son told me that, I said, you know what, Doobie, I was there, I heard it all. Let's go. What do you want me to do? So then, then he mentioned something about a Facebook page that I knew nothing about called Dick Allen Belongs in the Hall of Fame. I think there was maybe 35 or 40 people in it. And like I said, somebody had wrote an article about it. And then it just took off. Now there's almost 4,000 people, and everybody's on board. So
that's quite an increase in numbers. It's also more effective. I think it's more effective having you kind of leading in charge because you were there. You were there and experienced these things. Yeah. You saw it. It'd be different if somebody came along, some guy maybe 30 years old now coming along and leading the way, but it would not be as effective. You were there. You saw it. You're able to testify as to what you saw and what kind of person he was.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So. My hat is off to you, Mark, for all the work you put in for this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very selfless act on your part.
Yeah.
And let me say for our listeners now, what's the website again to go to?
Yeah. It's www.dickallenbelongs.wordpress.com.
Okay.
And terrific website. And there's also Dick Allen Belongs in the Hall of Fame on Facebook. Like I said, that's on Facebook. And then there's also, you search on Facebook, petition to have Dick Allen enshrined into baseball's Hall of Fame.
Okay.
That's another thing on Facebook. And if you want to mail something, we have a P.O. Box number. Dick Allen Belongs in the Hall of Fame. P.O. Box 511, Essington, PA. Essington, PA.
Okay.
19029.
Okay. All right, that's great.
There's a lot of stuff there. Yeah. So, but all that information is on. And also, if you want to write the Hall of Fame, their address is the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. Very simple. 25 Main Street, Cooperstown, New York. Zip code 13326. We encourage people to write letters and just put attention Veterans Committee. So.
Yeah, and please do that, listeners. If you feel you have any feelings at all about this, and you believe, as Mark does, and as so many people do, and as I do, that Dick Allen has belonged in the Hall of Fame for a long time. If you feel that way, write these letters and get on the website and show your support. Go on Facebook and go to those pages.
Yes.
Because you can't find a worthier cause. And again, I never met Dick Allen, but I know many people who were a part of his life and he a part of theirs. And to a person, they all talk about what a great guy he was, what a great teammate he was. And they wouldn't just be saying that. You know, if one or two people tell you that, that's okay. But I'm talking about 25 people telling me that. So, you know, he's the real deal. He belongs in the Hall of Fame, and let's see what we can do to keep this movement going.
Okay. I really appreciate
Mark,
it.
I want to, Mark Carfagno, I want to thank you again for being with me today. Took a long time for us to finally get together, and I'm glad we did. I'll be in touch again soon. And for you listeners, I hope you're having a pleasant weekend wherever you may be. And we will be back again next week, Off the Wall with Eric Lenaburg.